Welcome to She Leads Confidently podcast. I'm Karen Barner, your host, and this is episode 121. Now, I told myself that I was going to do these every week. And the last one I did, I just looked, was June 26th. And I have no one to blame but myself because I fall into these traps of trying to do too much. As you all know, or maybe you don't know, I run an association that I founded 27 years ago for an assisted living. I'm the CEO. And I helped build and grow assisted living over the years. But I also have a side hustle where I help women become their most powerful, best version of themselves. And I hope to accomplish that through my podcast, through my post on all the social media channels. But I decided to write a book. Now, I have written a couple other books. I wrote Find Your Blue Rose, which I think is behind me. I wrote Shadow Work Journal and Prompt, still available on Amazon. And I wrote Blue Rose Bookstore. Blue Rose Bookstore did really great, went to number 11 on Amazon. But when I reread it a couple of years later, I decided that is one harsh puppy. Bad language, just a lot of, I don't even know where I was when I wrote that book. So I pulled it down and I thought, I got to rewrite this because I love the Blue Rose Bookstore. I've created a world I love. So I rewrote Blue Rose. Now it's called Blue Rose Bookstore, a sanctuary for your soul. It's not available yet. It's not out. Just going through proofreading now. I plan to self-publish it. I do have another book that I'm participating in called Voices of the 21st Century, Voices from Women of the 21st Century. That will be out February 5th, and I have a chapter in that. I tell you this because on top of running an association, going through a really challenging, rough legislative session from January till about June, planning an annual conference and putting on an annual conference, plus other trainings, and having one of my key people be pregnant and on maternity leave, I should have at some point said, you know what, Karen, you got a lot going on. Maybe you don't need to rush the book. Maybe you don't need to do this. But I kept going. And I was in the military, so when I throw out military terms, just you got to accept it. I was a medic, but you know, when you're around all the pilots and all that all the time, this is what you hear. So for some reason, I feel like I always need to go balls to the wall. I need to give 150%. And I'm sure I'm overcompensating because when I was a child, I had a speech impediment. And I still do. It's not like it went away. I can't say my R's and my S's, and it becomes much more pronounced when I'm tired or I'm doing a lot of talking. So everybody figured because I had a speech impediment, I was learning disabled, and I wasn't very smart. Add that to the fact that I'm left-handed, and I have no idea what that ever had to do with anything. But back then, it also meant not very smart. And I also have trauma in my past, as most women do, sexual or physical trauma. I swear 90% of the women population has it, and a large population I found as men have it as well. So I was always considered not smart. I had a sister that was really smart. I had a brother who was an athlete and smart. My sister was also an athlete. So I always felt like I was behind. I never felt that I was good enough. I never felt like I deserved anything, that I had to work 10 times harder than everybody else. When I graduated from high school and I walked across the stage and they handed me my diploma, when I got to the other end of the stage, I cracked it open to see if it was signed, because if it wasn't signed, that meant I had to come back. It was signed. Yay me. So, of course, I want to go to college because I'm an overachiever. No idea where that came from. And, of course, my parents are like, no, you can work at the steel mill. My dad said I can get you a great job as a secretary at the steel mill. And I'm not bashing steel mills. I have a lot of my friends that I grew up with that worked in the steel mills, and a couple of them have 2 homes, one in our hometown of Hermitage, Pennsylvania, and the other one's in Florida, driving RVs. So I'm not sure who made the right decision. But I said no. I knew there was more. And I knew the more was not in that small town, because I'm from a very small town. And I knew there was more. So my only way out was to join the military. So I joined the military, yada, 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 times go on. However, over the course of time, I found that I was constantly trying to prove myself. When I was in the military, I was working obviously full-time as a medic. I was also going to school, taking classes the whole way through the military. And then I got the military. My whole life, you look at the pattern, I'm always doing 5 or 6 other things. I never really breathed. When I went on vacation, even last year in Disneyland, I was on my phone checking email. The year before that, we were in Disney World. I was on the phone talking to somebody about their community. I didn't know to stop. I didn't know to breathe. And ladies, it'll catch up with you, because it caught up with me this year. I hit about March, April, and I just kind of started getting kind of quiet, kind of scattered, kind of depressed. I stopped exercising, and I'm the type. This is so sad. I'm the type when I get depressed, I eat. Why can't I be the one that when you get depressed, you don't eat? My sister doesn't eat. I eat. So of course I put on 10 pounds, and I just couldn't focus. I just couldn't do it. And the whole time I'm still working on my book, working on my book, working on my book, working on my full-time job, working on my full-time job. I was sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. I wasn't sleeping well. I just wasn't doing anything well. And this is kind of a cautionary tale, ladies, that it isn't a contest to see who can get the most done. It isn't a contest to see how many books you can write, how many legislative pieces, how many bills you can get passed, how many bills you can defeat, how many people you can compete with. The competition is with you. Do you have inner peace? And I wasn't having inner peace. I just wasn't happy. But I didn't know it. I was happy at home, thrilled with my husband. My personal life was going great, except every time he looked at me, I had the laptop in my lap, or I had the phone on. And he's like, my husband's like, this goes back to when you first started this association 27 years ago. He goes, where's your help? Why are you doing this all yourself? And it's like, I gotta get it done, gotta get it done. So he's on maternity leave, somebody's here, somebody there. And I mean, it just, all of a sudden I closed ranks and decided only I could do it. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day, which has happened to me recently, and you think, I didn't do it. I did everything okay. I did everything average. I'm not an average person. And I hope when you listen to this, you say to me back, I'm not an average person either. Because none of us are average. All of us have greatness combined. All of us are amazing. But we lose sight of that. And somewhere along the line, I lost sight of it. And I can go back, I can trace it back to COVID and everything going on in COVID and bad outcomes. I mean, I can go back to 2019 and follow the thread, which I've done. Because I'm also, when I realize things are off the rail, I am good at being introspective. And if you're not good at introspective, give me a call, let me know. I'd be happy to guide you through. Because you kind of have to look at the breadcrumbs to see when you kind of went off the rail and why you couldn't get back on track. Because I can see where it happened, and I thought I was back on track, but I wasn't. I was sad. I was really kind of a depressed pup. And, I've asked people in the past week and a half, what do you think? And they're like, no, you seem the same. I had one person who spends probably the most time with me say, you were always quiet. And you're not quiet, but we figured because you were working on the book. You need to have somebody in your inner circle that will say to you, what the hell is going on with you? You're just not who you are. But because I was so entrenched in what I was doing, I wasn't socializing either. I was going home at 5 o'clock from work and working on my book. And I've been doing this since last September. That book has gone through so many freaking rewrites. It's ridiculous. And probably some of it was just I was afraid to release it into the world. I've done a lot of inner work because I also realized when I get like that, I play small. I'm not playing a big game. And I realized that a couple months ago. I was like, what happened? When did the large in charge, brash, I have to say sometimes brash Karen, where did she go? I was at the conference a couple months ago with our national, and I just wasn't, my usual swagger self. It's like, where'd the swagger go? Where did I go? And you guys, I know you can relate to this because we all have these challenges. We all kind of lose sight of who we are. The question is, do you know how to get it back? Do you have friends that will say, hey, what's wrong with you? And if you don't have friends like that, do you have enough warning bells internally that will light bells off? Now, I do have a coach, and so I was talking to my coach about a month and a half ago, and she's like, you're really quiet. She goes, it started in December. You got really quiet around December. And I'm like, I don't know. She goes, you got really quiet. And you still kind of haven't pulled out of it. She's like, so let's talk it through. And that helped immensely because we started talking it through. You need to have that person because this happens to all of us. If you're a hard-charging woman, and especially if you're a woman leader, you don't want to show weakness. So when people call you out and say, I don't feel like you're 100% of what's wrong, you're like, I'm fine. What's wrong with you? Because you don't want to show weakness. But the whole time you're thinking, I'm just not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not bright enough. I just can't compete. I look around and everybody else that does what I do and they're 10 times better and they're greater than me. That became my self-talk. I'm just not gonna be able to. Things were slipping through the cracks. We had an event that I totally forgot about till like 3 days before the event. We weren't putting it on. We were a co-host, and I wasn't paying attention, so I had to hurry up and put that together. I would say for the past 9 months, I have not been an A+ person, and I don't like that. But I've also come to realization, speech impediment, that you're not always going to do A+ work. That you've got to accept C work, and sometimes you got to accept D work. You have to give yourself grace. You have to be able to look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm just tired. I need a break. I need vacation. I need to just breathe. I need to not do anything. And that's internal. It wasn't like somebody was telling me, Karen, write a book, write a book, write a book, write a book. I mean, when I was working on my book and then that Voices of the 21st Century, Women of the 21st Century came out, I could have passed on that, but that was too good of an opportunity because I also wanted to heal and inspire as many women as I can to help them understand that you can do it. You can be great. But I also want to let them know that don't do it at a big cost. Take your time, structure yourself. In my book, I talk about my 7-step Blue Rose framework. And of course, it's 8 steps because it's BLUEROSE. So it's really 8 steps, but 8 steps is kind of clunky. So we say 7 and we snick 2 of them in there. And when I talk about Annie, and that's what writing this book has been very cathartic for me, because there's a lot of that character, Annie Walker, that's a part of me. Now, her childhood was really a train wreck. That was not my childhood. But a lot of it, the battles I've wrestled with and the internal stuff. Because I never ever wanted to admit to myself, you know what, maybe I am depressed. I never wanted to admit to myself, I am kind of a sad cat. I am kind of, things aren't right with me right now. I'm kind of off balance. But I refuse to admit that because I was raised that, weak, if you're weak, and a lot of women have this, especially if you have trauma in your life, a lot of women have this, if you're weak, you get taken advantage of. If you get weak, harm comes your way. So you do everything you can not to be weak. So I hate showing weakness when people be like, are you okay? Be like, I'm great, fantastic. You just kind of seem off your game. Nope. You're allowed to be weak. You're allowed to ask for help. And that's something I have to learn. I'm in my 60s and I still can't ask for help. I still struggle with it. I still struggle with looking at somebody and saying, you know what, I am really sad. I really would love to just go to lunch and chat. Instead, I would call somebody up for lunch and say, hey, you want to go to lunch today? And they'd be like, no, I'm kind of busy. Okay, thanks, bye. When I should have said, and a couple of my friends have been like, why don't you just say, hey, I really need to have lunch. I really need to have breakfast. I really just need to talk to somebody. Instead, I kept it bottled up. And I know I do this. And I really thought I had worked through this, but because of all the stuff flying around me, I didn't realize it. So you need to have alarm bells yourself. You need to have warning signs yourself. That when you see yourself doing this or doing that, it would be drinking. I'd start drinking a lot. And I'd be like, man, you just drank a 5th of vodka in like 3 weeks. Something's not right. But I quit drinking. So I don't have that warning flag. And I shouldn't say quit. When people are like, you never drink. If I go out to dinner with people at a conference, I'll have drinks. If I go out to dinner with my husband, that I probably won't. But I didn't have that alarm bell anymore. I didn't have that warning. I didn't institute signs that led me to drink. And they didn't necessarily lead me to eat. I am finding I'm eating more, but it's because I'm working out. And so I think I was justifying it when really I was probably eating more because I was depressed. And I wasn't eating a lot at work because I was a sad cat. Then I'd go home and it's like, I'll chow down. Take time to do the interwork. Take time to understand your warning signs. And if you make a major shift, like you decide you're not going to drink anymore, or you decide you're not going to, whatever habit, smoke anymore, you need to have warning signs, because whatever habit you had was how you were compensating for other issues. So drinking helped me compensate for being sad or, being down in the dumps. When you drink, you're like, damn, I'm good. When I used to smoke, I would smoke because it gave me time to sit and think and think through things. But I've quit all this stuff. So maybe I need to start drinking again. But I have to learn new warning signs. because now I don't have that. So whenever you make change in your life, take the time to tell yourself, how do I know if I'm slipping back into another pattern? How do I know if I'm leaning back into it? Now, I am kind of surprised I never leaned back into drinking. That's kind of weird for me because I've been drinking since I was like 4 years old, and that's not an exaggeration. So how I didn't catch it. And I think I didn't catch it because I was keeping myself so busy. And I don't want to drag this on as it's kind of going long now. Women leaders, take your time. Give yourself grace. Meditate. I quit meditating. Meditate. Breathe. You can't do it all. You can't be that Virginia Slims commercial. Remember, you can bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan, and make sure your husband knows he's a man. I could look that commercial up. It's so offensive now. But back then, everybody's like, oh, look at us, women empowered. Really? You can go home, you can go to work, come home, cook dinner, and everything else? That's kind of cuckoo. But anyway, give yourself grace. Get a group of friends that have warning signs. I should have, and actually when you read the book, Blue Rose Bookstore, I talk in a point about, give me a safe word in case, and it's a different reason why they're walking up a high mountain. But I realized I need to have friends give me a safe word. Tell me your safe word that when you say this word, I know something's going on. Because if I would have had that, I would have at least been able to say, I'm kind of feeling whatever my safe word is. I'm kind of feeling Kleenexy. And that'd be a clue like, oh, okay, she needs to talk. Or I'm kind of, I'm just kind of off. But when you say that and you're like, but it's fine. I need to tell my friends when I say stuff like that, and I hear them say, but it's fine, that I really am that way. I really am. That's me asking for help without saying, hey, I really need help. I really need somebody to talk to. And even when I say this, I start tearing up. You always have somebody, and if you don't have somebody in your inner circle that you can talk to, you can always talk to me. You can email me, you can text me and say, hey, I need a friend to talk to. Don't go down these roads by yourself. By the grace of God, I was able to finally recognize what was going on and step back, and I'm finally starting to pull back out of it. I'm finally starting to be happy again. I'm finally starting to be focused. And maybe some of it is because I finished my book, so I don't have that constant drain. I don't know. Find somebody. Have a safe word if you need a safe word. Have that one friend that you can call and say, hey, can we go out to lunch? Can we talk? I just need somebody to talk to. Okay, I hope this helped. If you have any questions, put in the comments below. In order to lead confidently, you've got to be confident. In order to be confident, it's self-love, it's self-respect, it's self-esteem. And we don't always have that, folks, 100% time of the day. It's going to waffle and waddle. But if you feel like your confidence is waddling or waffling, look within. And again, if you have any questions or anything, you can reach. If you're watching this on social media, you can reach out. If you're watching this on my website, wherever, reach out to me. Because I don't want women to have to go through this if we can prevent it. Have a great day, and here's to you finding your Blue Rose.